Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello there, welcome back.
So we have been talking about these earthquakes in the Columbia, South Carolina area. As you see here, this is Columbia, South Carolina. And let me just check. Yes, we're doing good. Okay. And this is Columbia, South Carolina. To the northeast, there's a little town called Elgin. And I know Elgin very well. In 2007, it became my hometown. And this is where we moved from Connecticut. And, I know every inch of South Carolina. I've traveled all over South Carolina. We see these quakes, quote unquote, all around this area, which is very close to the base. And this is Fort Jackson Military Reservation. Fort Jackson is where many people go for their basic training. It's actually where my dad went for basic training back in World War II. And all these quakes, what we get, and they are relatively shallow, 2.1, 3.9, 2.3, 3.7, 4.1, 2.9, 4.0. These are kilometers. What we get is this is basically underground blasting. This is an extension, new tunnels, new transit, new railways. Who knows? Maybe it's a little ET highway down there.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely an enhancement of the things that were already there. So they're just extending on that.
So when we look in here, you guys see this pond, White Pond, and this is White Pond Road. This is the eggs that I used to get off all the time. Know this area so very well. Well, it's fascinating to see. We see evidence of extinction event could be at the bottom of a South Carolina pond. Yeah, that pond. Researchers say they found evidence that an asteroid or comet exploded over Kershaw County thousands of years ago, causing huge changes to life in that area. And, there is a video here, and this is from News 19, WLTX. That covers this very, very well. Fascinating to see. A lot of attention's been generated in the South Carolina town of Elgin. And when I moved there in 2007, there was like 700 people. I think they're up to 3,000 to 4,000 now. So it's getting a little bit busier in Elgin.
So it's very curious that that's an area you felt drawn to, I think.
It's a tiny little town. Yet, I gotta say, I felt very, very at peace there, and I loved driving my Honda Shadow motorcycle all over the place there. Lots of pleasant memories of not just there, but heading up towards the bigger lakes, which weren't too far up the road. You go past Lugoff. You could put your canoes in here along the river, or you could go on up into Lake Watery. Loaded with catfish, by the way. Beautiful area. Love the area. And yet, here they are talking about how this is showing evidence of the younger Dryas impact hypothesis. And so what they've found is they've dug down. Now, the soil there is it's not really soil, it's sand. So I did have some amazing gardens, but I had to bring in tons of topsoil to do it, because it's all sand as far down as you could dig. And so they've found signs that support this theory of this younger Dryas impact hypothesis. We know that at a certain time, about 12 to 13,000 years ago, there was a massive extinction event that occurred. And here, what they have found is, he's saying about 13,000 years ago, something hit this area, because they found evidence of it at the bottom of White Pond. And as he says, when you dig down, you're going back in time, farther down, farther back in time. So they excavated in 3 or 4 foot long blocks of units, individual segments where the earth is peeled back across part of the White Pond area. And they found artifacts that are 12,000 years old. But then what's interesting is all of a sudden there's like nothing. And then when you go back farther, there's more artifacts. So it's like everybody was wiped out, pretty much. There was something that wiped out a massive portion of the population in that time period. Now you go farther back, yeah, it shows evidence that there were people roaming and about. There was animals roaming and about, but something happened that took them out, and it came from the sky. And so they were also looking for evidence of the Clovis culture. Clovis were considered to be among the earliest Native Americans, and that was basically discovered over in New Mexico. So funny. Cindy's smiling because she's like, yeah, you've been like subconsciously going and living in these areas that historically have a big impact, and it's part of actually being there to feel the energies of these past events. And yeah, I guess so.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you ever wonder why were you ever really pulled to a particular place, and even though maybe it wasn't that significant or you've never heard of it before, but our DNA, our ancestral DNA, wherever that is, many times we're going to be pulled. We're going to be pulled to that area and not even really know why, but we're going to feel a certain peace. We're going to feel a certain energy. We might even feel some disruption. And in this case, I think both can be felt.
Yeah, and it's just fascinating to see. And, then they get into, of course, can it happen again? As you can see the dig here, as they're just going through sand, and of course it could happen again. Yeah, it's fascinating because this is the area, of course, where we have Carolina Bays named after the Carolinas. But they're in other places as well. Carolina Bays are elliptical or oval depressions of uncertain origin found in North and South Carolina, along with a few bays in Virginia, Georgia, Delaware. Considered to be a freshwater wetland, most often isolated, the Bay's depression fills with rainwater, usually in spring and winter, dries in the summer, and this water level determines the plants and animals that inhabit the bay. How did they form? And, it's interesting because they're everywhere, really, along, as you can see here, and through the Carolinas, and also in some other areas as you're looking up into Michigan. And I've done some camping up in there, and boy, it feels wonderful up in the upper peninsula of Michigan. It's amazing, the beauty. And then here we see all the way out heading towards Nebraska. So something hit or fragmented into a whole bunch of pieces and then impacted this whole area, as we see, going all the way up into Maryland, all the way through Virginia, all the way through the Carolinas in the Younger Dryas time period. And of course, we had a massive die-off in that time period as well. And, we did have a flood. So many people believe that this is the Noah's flood time period. Others think that the Noah's flood is something that happened maybe half that distance of time ago, more in that 5,000 to 6,000 BC range. But this was a pretty big event, and there is evidence of a major impact in Greenland. Now, was the Greenland impact so big that, pieces bounced off and up and came back down here, or was this small pieces that broke off of the thing that impacted in Greenland and maybe a larger impact here? I don't know. Can you get anything from the guides on this?
I mean, when you tune in to the information and the land, it definitely feels like somebody wanted to benefit from a little less population and making it not look so obvious that it was a disturbance from an outside force. I could see someone making this uncomfortable for humans to stay and remain, kind of ruining that atmosphere, making it so someone else could move in.
So just reading from this article, which comes from Ancient Origins, it says, this is a very interesting result for the inescapable conclusion is these enigmatic bays are likely to be elliptical impact crater depressions, not depressions created directly by an incoming comet or meteor shower, as many of the earlier researchers of the Carolina Bays claim, but depressions formed by a much slower secondary projectiles displaced from a primary impact source in the Great Lakes. And again, now we have found major impact up in Greenland. And I think that major impact find coincidentally happened a little bit earlier than the movie Greenland, where everybody was going to Greenland to escape, another huge cataclysm. To me, when I think of this, I think of the story of Enlil and people being too noisy because there's too many humans. That's what always pops in my head. It's like the guides are saying this was that event where they just wanted to eliminate a portion of the population. It wasn't get rid of everybody. And as we have a video that I have scheduled to go up on EEARTS, and it's scheduled for 3 p.m. Central today. And we might let it go a little bit earlier. As on EEARTS, we want to try to focus a little bit more on the hidden history and the spirituality. And we're going to focus more on the news and the earth changes on Evolutionary. So make sure you're subscribed to both of these. But we do have a video in which we're going to be talking about different classifications of civilizations and talk about this and share that again. This is what my gut has always felt, that this is basically using technology. I've always kind of felt like what they simply did was take an asteroid that was either in the asteroid belt, or something that was coming by, nudge it so that it would come into this trajectory and let it go. And it looks like a natural event. But when you have a civilization that has technology, that is just a cakewalk. And theoretically, we might be able to even do it ourselves, given, maybe another decade or two of technology of what they show. Again, what they show and what we have is two totally different things.
Well, quite honestly, we really don't know what kind of technology that the controllers or the puppets are aware of, but we know we're not being told the truth.
So they say that the primary meteor, or whatever it was, must have entered the atmosphere from the northeast at a low angle, struck the center of the Great Lakes region, resulting in 2 wings of debris being lifted up on either side of the primary impact. But not so much material was displaced by the front or rear of the primary crater. This is why this impact is known as a butterfly formation. So very interesting to just think about it. And again, the North American things like the mastiffs and the saber-toothed tigers, they were all wiped out 12,900 years ago. And this is what did it. This is what did it. It wasn't humans hunting them down to extinction, as they always want to blame everything on us, as far as that. But again, original sin. Yeah, they blame everything on us. It's all about creating that guilt in humans, but in reality, it's the controllers that are doing it, and they're actually not Homo sapiens, as you can see. Again, these Carolina Bays impacts, and so evidence uncovered here in Little Elgin, South Carolina, my old hometown. This is where my son spent most of his youth growing up.
And it looks like it's something that I kind of want to keep an eye on, because I think more is going to come out of here.
Interesting. Very, very curious. As always, guys, make sure you are subscribed. Thanks for your support on Patreon and Ko-Fi. We seriously couldn't keep going without the support there. And do check out Medicinal Foods. Lots of good stuff there to help you detox, boost your immune system. Use coupon code EEA. It gets you a discount. Does support the channel. Much love. Look forward to your comments. God bless. Namaste.
Namaste.